Thank you, Count Gorla. Minister, I believe this bill is very important in simplifying the process of starting a co-op in Ireland, which I think has to happen. And I note in your response you say that the Minister is going to do all this all of a sudden anyway, and it's all going to be done by the end of the year, which is amazing considering that it's been around since 1874 or something, and it's now we're 120 years later. We're going to get to actually consolidating this legislation now. So, and I think that's indicative of the importance that this government and continuous governments have placed in terms of cooperatives and how they can actually contribute to society in this country, where we've focused everything on the development of multinationals and the development of foreign direct investment so that they can have run riot around the country and benefit. But actually what could actually benefit individual citizens of this country and the rural places where they live right across the board has been put on the hind tit, and that's really what's going to be what's happening here. So I think it's interesting to note that it's meant that our industrial profile has not been as developed as it could be to benefit the people of Ireland rather than the businesses that have moved into Ireland. Such regimes as in Germany have more developed and active co-ops than us. So this is not something to be afraid of, and it won't communise Ireland either, which I know is something that Fine Gael would be terrified that could happen. ICOS outline on their website brilliantly the principles that a co-op has that I believe make it of value. Voluntary and open membership. Cooperatives are voluntary organisations open to all. Democratic member control. Cooperatives are democratic organisations controlled by their members who actively participate in setting their policies and making decisions. Men and women serving as elected representatives are accountable to the membership. And primary cooperative members have equal voting rights, one member, one vote, and cooperatives at other levels are also organised in a democratic manner. Member economic participation. Members contribute equitably to democratic control of the capital of their cooperative, and members allocated surpluses for any of the following purposes: the development of their cooperative, benefiting members in proportion to their transactions with the cooperative, supporting other activities approved by the membership, autonomy and independence. Cooperatives are autonomous, self-help organisations controlled by their members. The education, training and information, cooperation among other cooperatives which are working together through local, national, regional and international structures, and concern for the community. Cooperatives work for the sustainable development of their own communities. And I think that stands out in stark reality to what actually happens in terms of business here today in this country, and multinationals in this country, where they are there to benefit their shareholders, who are very few of them living here and working here. So I don't think we have too much to worry about in organisations that apply these principles at its core, unless you are a multinational business who wants everything in society prioritising your profit needs. We have had a long history of cooperative societies working in rural Ireland, aside from the agricultural co-ops that are now PLCs, and which I would argue may not have benefited their members as much as they could or intended to originally. In Donegal, we have had co-ops that have been mentioned by Deputy Connolly as well. We've had co-ops that have survived over time. We had in Glenconkill, the Father McDire development in terms of there that has now fallen by the wayside, but did provide hope for a lot of the time. And indeed, my own father worked there and as a manager in the late 60s and early 70s. We have the most notable probably of such co-op is the Cope in Dunlow, which is still going today and started out as a Templecone Cooperative Agricultural Society in 1906. The Cope started as a co-op and retains many of the symbols of a co-op today. There were also many community co-ops that started out providing a community need. For example, Corcom and the Ross and Cho knitting co-op, which was started from the 1970s and worked up until the last few years, which was a much needed resource for women in the area, providing them with a means of creating income for themselves through their own knitting, and acted as a liaison between them and the buyers, and gave them a better value and better prices for their actual production, which was vitally important, which actually pissed off a lot of people in the local community as well that were benefiting from women and didn't want to see them organising themselves into co-ops. And indeed, my mother was involved in the workings of that through the Combat Poverty Agency, which did a lot of good work in terms of co-op and farming co-ops in Donegal and through the 70s, and I think that is a perfect example. So there also have been fishermen's co-ops that have been around in most coastal communities. Many have become private or fallen by the wayside because it has been hard work to keep them going. This is where this piece of legislation might go some way to making it easier and make those co-ops viable. But let's face it, governments past and present have purposely made it difficult for economic models other than the dominant private sector profit-driven model which has wreaked havoc in our country. The bill is designed to amend the regulations relating to the establishment of cooperative societies to make the process of registering a cooperative much easier. It reduces the membership criteria from 7 members to 3, in line with the regulations in place in most of Europe. It allows for electronic filing and registration, a process available to other types of companies, and allows for audit exemptions which are also available for other types of companies but not to cooperative societies. These small measures will level the playing field and make the establishment of cooperatives much easier. It will also bring us more in line with Europe than we currently are. We also need to face the fact that our economic model is going to have to change if we are to address the issues of climate change, for example, and meet our international and domestic obligations. And I believe the cooperative model can play a major role in facilitating that. Cooperatives can facilitate a revolution in renewable energy. Cooperatives could own and manage their own renewable energy sources, bypassing the developer-led wind farm model that we have so much love here of in terms of officialdom in Ireland anyway. In Germany, citizen cooperatives have long been investing in the production of renewable energies, and some are now looking at how to buy back the energy grid from the energy companies. They succeeded in Hamburg, creating a new business model that many other countries would like to emulate. Nearly 40% of German renewable capacity is now locally owned, some by household domestic photovoltaic and some by local co-ops, with many hundreds of villages and town-based schemes in place. Some have even suggested this is a new form of so-called decentralised socio-economic power, where local social entrepreneurship challenges the existing market system. Local ownership and self-generation means that the existing developer-led utility companies are losing control of some parts of their market, and this can only be good news for the people and good news for the environment. It could also be part of a solution to the decline of towns and villages in rural Ireland. Residents could get together, form a cooperative and buy out the local pub, restaurant or even butchers. The possibilities are limitless but require the right amount of political will. I believe this bill will enable cooperatives not only to get established in Ireland but also to thrive. A co-op-led economy could also uphold principles of a just transition, where workers' rights are upheld, where workers can live and work within their communities and sustainable local economies can thrive. Workers' rights would also be preserved through worker cooperatives, which are more resilient, more productive and provide greater benefits to workers in their communities. This bill would facilitate an increase in the development of the co-op sector in line with the needs of communities right across the country. And this bill and the cooperative model could be a perfect antidote to Fine Gael's corrosive policies which are undermining rural Ireland and undermining the needs in communities across the country. And if the Minister is serious about doing this, let's see her put a date more so than just the end of the year in terms of how this is going to happen, because I don't believe, unfortunately, that the will is there to make it happen. Thank you.
Collins.